about 115 kilos of gold. In today's money, that's about 11, 12 million dollars. So it's a lot of money, right? Many people are willing to sell their soul for, I don't know, $10,000, $5,000, $1,000, let alone 12 million. And so after Imam Musa ibn Ja'far, he was supposed to hand the money over to the next Imam, to the successor, Imam al-Ridha alayhi salam. But in order not to do that, he claimed that Imam al-Kadhim had gone into occultation, and that was the end of the Imamah. So in fact, there is an interesting altercation, interesting conversation that happens between him and Imam al-Ridha alayhi alafut tahiyyati wassalam, when he comes to the Imam and he says to him, "Are you the Imam after your father?" Imam al-Ridha said, "Yes, I am." He said, "If that's the case, we have a hadith, an established principle, which says that when an Imam dies, the only one allowed to prepare him for burial, to wash and bathe his body, is another Imam. Whereas when your father died, he died in Baghdad. At the time you were in Medina, so how could you have come all the way from Medina to Baghdad to bathe your father's body?" Imam Rida alayhi salam used a proof against him that he couldn't respond to. He said to him, "Was Imam al-Hussein an Imam?" He said, "Of course he was." He said, "When Imam al-Hussein was martyred in Karbala, who bathed his body? Who prepared him for burial? Who buried him?" He said, "His son Imam Zain al-Abidin, Imam Ali ibn al-Hussein." He said, "Well, where was Imam Ali ibn al-Hussein at the time?" Imam Zain al-Abidin was in shackles. Imam Zain al-Abidin was in Kufa. He was taken as a captive, as a prisoner of war. How did he come back to Karbala to bury his father? Obviously, we know that the Imam came back miraculously. Otherwise, he was in custody at the time. But he came back miraculously on the third day. And you've all heard the story how Imam Zain al-Abidin buried his father. So Imam Rida then said to him, he said, "The one who released Imam Zain al-Abidin from imprisonment and sent him miraculously from Kufa to Karbala to bury his father is the same one who brought me from Medina to Baghdad to bury my father." Anyway, the Waqifites have pretty much gone extinct as well. And after Imam al-Ridha alayhi salam, we have numerous ahadith that say Imam al-Ridha is unique in the sense that those who believed in him believed in all of the subsequent Imams. Which is why, for instance, somebody asks Imam al-Jawad alayhi salam, he says to him, "Who should I visit? Whose visitation is more rewarding and I get more thawab? Is it Amirul Mu'mineen? Is it Imam al-Hussein? Is it any of the previous Imams, or your father, Imam al-Ridha?" He said, "No, my father, Imam al-Ridha, because all of the previous Imams, yazuruhum al-khas wal-aam, everyone visits them, those who are righteous as well as those who have split up, whereas my father is only visited by al-khawas min shi'atina." Only those purified, only those true believers who adhered to the 12 Imams and successors of Rasulullah. Now, later on, and I'll conclude with this, we also had Ja'far ibn Ali al-Hadi, also known as Ja'far al-Kadhab. Ja'far, the son of Imam al-Hadi, the brother of Imam al-Askari alayhi salam, and the uncle of Imam al-Zaman, also falsely claimed that he was the successor of Imam al-Askari, that he was the 12th Imam. And there is a beautiful story. Don't know if I can get into the details, but in a nutshell, a man called Abu al-Adyan, and this is also narrated by Kamaluddin, by Sheikh al-Saduq, as well as others. He was a messenger for Imam al-Askari. In other words, he delivered correspondence from the Imam. He says that I went to Imam al-Askari one day. The Imam said to me, "Take all of these letters that I've written to my various followers and my agents and representatives and whatnot, and I wish for you to take these letters to Madain in the north of Baghdad." Imam al-Askari was in Samarra. He said, "Take these letters. your trip will last 15 days. On the 15th day, listen to the Imam. This is how you identify a true Imam. Not some lunatic in a beanie sitting in Manchester claiming to be Imam al-Zaman. He said to him, your trip will last 15 days. On the 15th day, you will return to Samarra with all of the letters, all of the responses to my letters. And you will also, when you arrive, you will hear the na'ya. You will hear people saying that Imam al-Askari has died. So he says, I said to him, Ya ibn Rasulullah, if I come back and you're dead, who's your successor? Who's your heir? The Imam said to him, the one who will ask you for the letters. So he said, I asked the Imam, give me more than that. The Imam said to him, the one who will pray on my body, perform Salatul Mayyit. He said, give me more. The Imam said to him, the one who will ask you for the pouch. He said, at that point, haybatuhu, the Imam's grandeur, stopped me from asking about the pouch and what's in the pouch. I just took what the Imam told me. I went to Madain. By the time I came back, on the 15th day, I heard the cry being made that Imam al-Hasan al-Askari has passed away. So he said, I didn't know who the successor is. So I went to the house of the Imam. I noticed that Ja'far, the son of Imam al-Hadi, meaning the brother of Imam al-Askari, was standing by the door, and he was receiving condolences from people as well as congratulations. People telling him that, oh, you're the next Imam, congratulations to you. And he was receiving everyone without any qualms or objections. So he said, I went straight to him. And when I went to him, I said to him, are you the next Imam? He said, yes, I am. But he didn't say a word about any letters or any pouches or anything like this. So Abu al-Adyan says, I decided to wait and just see what happens. He said, then they said that the body of Imam al-Askari alayhi salam is now ready. People should come and pray Salatul Janazah, Salatul Mayyit. So sure enough, Ja'far headed the procession. He went and stood right behind the casket of Imam al-Askari. And just as he was about to say, Allahu Akbar, this 5-year-old young boy came. He describes him. Allahumma ajjal waliyika al-faraj. May we see the day when we take a glance at the luminous face of our Imam. He says this 5 or 6-year-old child came. He had curly hair. His skin was slightly dark. He describes the Imam physically. He says he came and he cut through the lines until he reached his father's body. Then he held the sleeve of his uncle and he pushed him to the side. And he said to him, تَنَحَّ يَا عَمْ فَإِنِّي أَحَقُّ بِالصَّلَاةِ عَلَىٰ أَبِي مِنْكَ. Step aside, uncle. I am the one who is supposed to lead this prayer. He says that Ja'far became embarrassed but also angry. The color of his face began to shift from white to black to red, but he moved aside. The hujjah of Allah is pushing him. How could he say no? He stepped aside. This young Imam al-Mahdi stood there and he proclaimed Allahu Akbar, began praying on his father's body. Then after the salah, the Imam disappeared. He didn't stay there and answer questions and whatnot. He simply disappeared. So Abu al-Adyan says that I went back to the Imam's home. There was a servant there. I said to him, where is my master? Where is my Imam? The servant said, your master says, give me those letters. So I gave him the letters. Then the servant went inside and came back outside. He said, your master says, give me the pouch which has 1,000 dirhams in it, including currencies that are this shape and that shape, very specific descriptions of what was inside the pouch, not just the pouch itself. He said, so I handed it all to Imam al-Zaman, and I knew that Ja'far was but a liar. Now, Ja'far, although he did have some followers at the time, but that splinter group also went into extinction. In fact, the children of Ja'far then became Ithna Asharis. They all believed in the 12 Imams of the Ahlul Bayt. In fact, the children of Ja'far today are the Naqawi Sadat. Many of them are righteous, believing men, women, beautiful human beings, servants of Imam al-Zaman. So while Ja'far himself was a deviant and was a kadhab, in fact, Abu al-Adyan says that when I saw people pledging their allegiance to Ja'far, I said to myself, I've seen this man drink alcohol in public. How could he be the next Imam? I've seen him gamble. I've seen him use musical instruments. He's the next Imam. It doesn't add up. But his children, alhamdulillah, became righteous. Now, since we reached the story of Imam al-Zaman, it reminds me how the Imam became an orphan at such a young age. Not only an orphan, but someone who was hunted down, someone who was being searched for, someone that the authorities wanted to kill to the extent that he had to go into occultation in the blessed cellar of disappearance in Sirdabul Ghaiba. And that must have been incredibly difficult. Ya Sahib al-Amr, Ya Hujjat ibn al-Hasan. May Allah bring relief to you. May Allah bring you back into the fold of believers and companions who would lay their lives for you. That must have been very difficult. But Ya Hujjat ibn al-Hasan, your aunt Ruqayyah, while you buried your father was safe and intact. Your father's body didn't have wounds. Your father's head was right there. But your aunt Ruqayyah lahfi alayha, in that dark night, after going through those scenes in the court of Yazid, some say that Lady Zainab, while she was responding to Yazid and humiliating him, she also had a mission to make sure that Ruqayyah didn't see what was in that bowl in front of the throne of Yazid. And sure enough, Ruqayyah didn't see that. But when they went back to the ruins of Shah, Ajarakallah ya Sahib al-Ayam, all the women and children, they each took to a corner to cry quietly. They've endured so much, they were exhausted. Except for Ruqayyah, who went to sleep. Ya Aba Abdullah, I'm sorry to say that your daughter placed her face on the dirt that night. She then woke up crying and pleading and asking for her father. She hadn't processed that her father had died. Last time she saw him, her father was safe and sound. He was riding on the back of his horse. She didn't know what happened to Aba Abdullah, which is why on the way to Karbala, she must have been telling those treacherous monsters, the soldiers of Yazid, wait till I see my father in Sham and tell him what you've done to me. And so when she woke up, she said, I want my father. I just saw him in a dream. I can't take this anymore. So they bring that bowl which was covered by a cloth. And when she removed the cloth, she was in shock. She took a few steps back. Then she went towards the severed head, hugging it. Who did this to your lips? Who did this to your beard? Father, who did this to your head? Finally saying, Man alladhi aytamani ala صغر سني. لا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله العلي العظيم. إنا لله وإنا إليه راجعون. وسيعلم الذين ظلموا أي منقلب ينقلبون، والعاقبة للمتقين. إلهنا سيدنا مولانا بفاطمة وأبيها وبعلها وبنيها، برقية بنت الحسين، عجل اللهم فرج إمام زماننا. اللهم اجعلنا من أنصاره وأعوانه وأتباعه وشيعته والمستشهدين بين يديه. اللهم اغفر لنا ذنوبنا، كفر عنا سيئاتنا، وفقنا اللهم في الدنيا لزيارة الحسين، وفي الآخرة لشفاعة الحسين. اللهم أد ديوننا، اشف مرضانا خاصة المنظورين. اللهم وارحم موتانا وموتى المؤمنين من شيعة أمير المؤمنين ومن لا يذكرهم ذاكر، والعلماء والصالحين والشهداء وخدمة أبي عبد الله الحسين ومن مضى من هذا الجمع. إلى أرواحهم نهدي ثواب السورة المباركة الفاتحة مع الصلوات.